river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me. Run.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to be my guest. Today we have from Concord, Massachusetts, we have Susanne Liebich, right?
Yes.
Liebich,
yes.
Beautiful name. She is a therapeutic movement instructor and a wellness practitioner. Where did I read about you? Where was it?
I'm not sure, but I think you may have read an article recently in the Over 50 Advocate magazine.
That might have been it. That's another thing,
because I heard from you right after that.
That Over 50, that newspaper thing that comes out once a month, it's kind of hard to find it. I used to be at Tatnuck. Mm-hmm. It's not there anymore. So she said, well, you can come here to the office. She said, I'll mail it to you. I went, great. I don't know if I could subscribe or not.
I don't know. I thought it was an online publication, but is it?
No, it's the real deal. Okay. Yeah, it is it's a great newspaper. Mm-hmm. All righty. Yeah. So now, Susanne, how did you get into the therapeutic movement and the wellness?
I just, I was, studied dance my whole life, and then I was in sales and marketing for probably 25 years. And probably about 15 years ago, I just decided that I was really interested in the field of wellness. Mm-hmm. And I started by developing a girl power program for preteen girls. And it was all about helping girls to become more interested in their, health and wellness, integrating movement and journaling and circle time and bringing in guests to help with, various programs. Yeah. And then from there, it just kept evolving. I actually went probably about 2 or 3 years after that to study some dance for Parkinson's training, and that's how I got into Parkinson's. And from there, I went a little bit further into the field of therapeutic dance and movement, got trained in dance for dementia. And so it's almost like it just kept burgeoning over time. It wasn't like right away I knew what I wanted to do. It just kept budding. It's like one thing led to another, and it was really a very organic process. Once I decided, I put out there that I wanted to study or to develop into the field of wellness, it was almost like things sort of came my way and ideas came my way. And so I just kept following whatever way those ideas came into my path.
And with the interest too by other people. They would say, well, gee, I'd like you to, do you do this too?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Because when I started with the Parkinson's dance, and that was about 9 or 10 years ago, I honestly didn't even know what that was. I didn't know anybody or at least I didn't think I knew anybody with Parkinson's. And then what happened was I was teaching this class for seniors at a local senior facility, and I was just sort of trying it out. I was thinking, it'd be sort of interesting to see, if I like doing this. Yeah. And I'd never taught seniors before. And I didn't really feel I was very good at it. And I remember thinking I need to sort of go back to the drawing board and figure out how to do this. I mean, I can teach younger people, but I wasn't really sure how to modify it for seniors. And I hadn't really had the training yet. And then when I was about to stop that class, this director of this an assistant director of this facility said, have you ever heard of Dance for Parkinson's? And I said, no, what is that? And she goes, it's sponsored by and developed by the Mark Morris Dance Group in Brooklyn, New York. And she said, you may want to look into it. I think they have a training around here. Yeah. And I heard about it on NPR. So what I did was that night, this was in June, I never forget the date, I went online and I looked it up and I said, I think this sounds awesome. Mm-hmm. And the training was about 4 or 5 months later. It was a weekend training. Yeah. And that was, 9 or 10 years ago. And then before I even had the training, I got a phone call from the director of Dance for Parkinson's in New York. And he said, the people at Emerson Hospital are looking for somebody to teach Dance for Parkinson's. And I had never even taken the training yet.
But you live in Concord. You were right there.
Yep. And
that just fell in your lap.
I said, I don't know if I can do this. I haven't even done the training. And he said, you'll be fine. Yeah. It's all about professional dancers teaching people with Parkinson's how to move. And, a lot of the movement that people do in dance is really good for people with Parkinson's.
My grandmother, my father's mother, died of, I think Parkinson's finally got her. I'm not sure, but you're talking about back in the early 70s. They weren't as up on all the things now, but I remember seeing her. And she said, I feel trapped in my body. I know that over at UMass, I saw artwork in the waiting room, neurology. I said, well, isn't this nice? It was from patients. They have a neurology department over there that does art with the people who have Parkinson's. You might want to get in touch with them, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I think that a lot of people don't realize that Parkinson's is not a death knell, and that there's a huge range of people with Parkinson's. Like, there's some people who are very sort of, minimal Parkinsonian symptoms, and then it can progress. It is a progressive neurodegenerative disease. It can become much more, much more intense over time.
Right.
And then typically people don't die of Parkinson's, they die of something
Related.
to, they
Yeah.
might have gotten some, over the years they might have, something might have happened to a secondary health condition.
Yeah, it wouldn't
Heart
surprise me if maybe pneumonia had gotten in there, too.
pneumonia, because
There's something called familial tremor. You know about that. I have an acquaintance with it. And at first I thought, oh, she's got Parkinson's, but she's no. This is familial tremor. And I think some people, don't they get it mixed up?
Yeah. Yes, the resting tremor is one of the main symptoms of Parkinson's, as well as, do you want me to tell you the symptoms of Parkinson's?
Well,
Are you
okay, yeah, and
familiar with
also
that?
familial. What's the difference between that and familial?
I've never heard that term.
Yeah,
I've heard
it's like,
dyskinesia, which is tremor, severe tremor. But resting tremor is what Parkinson's. So it's like your hand is here, and then you'll just.
Yeah, she's.
But you have to make sure it's not because you've had too much caffeine. It's like somebody who
Yes,
has
right
caffeine
here.
can also
Oh, yeah.
have a
I
little
love the
tremor.
taste, but boy, could it.
If without caffeine, if you're still, if your hand's at rest and there's a tremor, that is one symptom. And then also postural instability, so balance issues, mobility issues. So in other words, you have difficulty just moving, and then slow movement, which is called bradykinesia. So those four symptoms are the most prevalent symptoms of Parkinson's. But oftentimes people also have the facial mask, which means
My grandmother had that.
the
Just
facial muscles don't
no
move very
expression.
well.
No
Right.
expression.
So what happens is, in class, when I teach a class, one of the things we focus on is also moving our faces, moving our bodies, but really try to get expression and getting the facial muscles working, and using voice as well.
Suzanne, how can people reach you if they're interested in being in your classes?
They can reach me by sending me an email, and it's Susanne with an S, so it's SUSANNE at dancingwellness.com. And I also teach classes for Emerson Hospital's Steinberg Wellness Center, and you can contact them as well. And they offer several of my public classes.
When do you do your classes?
So I have several public classes. I teach on, Emerson Hospital, I teach on Wednesdays at 1:30, a strength class for seniors, strength, balance, and flexibility. And I teach Pilates for Parkinson's class on Mondays at 10:30, so that's another Parkinson's class. It's designed specifically for individuals with Parkinson's, but it is a Pilates class. On Thursday mornings, I teach from 9:15 to 10:15. I teach a Pilates for strong bones and strong muscles, which is for anybody who just wants to strengthen their bodies. And then the Parkinson's class that I've been teaching for 9 years is on Thursdays, 10:30 to 11:45, and then on Thursdays at 4:30 I teach dance fitness, which is a cardiovascular dance class that integrates dance arts, healing arts, and martial arts.
How are you doing this with the COVID? Everyone's wearing a mask? Or
No, actually all the classes, public classes I'm teaching are on Zoom.
On Zoom,
One
okay.
more little plug, because I do teach one class for Dragonfly Wellness, which is a wellness center that's in Devons. And I just teach a yoga and Pilates class for them on Tuesday mornings. So everything's on Zoom right now that I'm doing public. And we expect that probably in early September we will reconvene.
Let's
and
hope.
we will reconvene with both in-person and Zoom class together.
Do you find that a lot of the people with Parkinson's and just regular without it, they're very worried about getting the vaccine because they're not sure if it's going to make things worse for them, maybe? I don't know.
I find that students in my classes are extremely well educated. They read and they, evaluate, and they all wanted it. They would have been the first people to get it.
Yeah. okay.
Truthfully.
Yeah, I know. It's like, I know.
Because it allows
I'm
them...
going to do it, but I feel like a lamb to the slaughter. I just keep thinking, I had a flu shot reaction, and I'm thinking, oh, God, no. But
Yeah. Well, you too. I mean, I had it. I had it at the very beginning because I do work in-house for a local senior facility.
Yeah.
So their contractors were allowed to get it as well. And I remember when the director called and asked if I'd like to get it, and I said, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I was probably one of the first ones to get it.
Did you have some side effects?
I did. Well, the first one, no.
Yeah.
I got the Pfizer. The second one, not the first day, but the second day,
Okay.
I did get some, I would call it a 10% flu.
Yeah.
10%. So a little aches and pains. I was tired, and I had a welt on my arm.
Oh, no.
But it was just that. I
Yeah.
knew that was probably going to happen or something like it. And that was maybe 3 or 4 days. Then I was fine.
I'm getting the Pfizer one, too. So, okay,
Yeah.
that's good news. Somebody said
it's-
that the side effects are not as much as with Moderna, but I don't know.
Well, I have friends and some of my students even that are scientists and people in the medical field, nurses, doctors, and they said that, you have to get some side effect. You have to get some,
Yeah.
you're triggering your immune system. You're triggering your antibodies to work, to say, come on,
Yep.
you got to address this, address this COVID virus. So
Yep.
it's not a bad thing.
No, I remember getting the flu shot. I was a volunteer at UMass, and they said, either you get a flu shot or you're going to have to wear a mask everywhere you go. I'm like, oh, my
Yeah.
God. So I got it.
Yeah.
The next day or the day after, I did get the flu, and I was sick for like a week and gave it to my husband, who had had the shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
A fluke, who knows?
Yeah.
But it's something like that you don't forget, and you just kind of cross your fingers that it won't happen.
I
hope
know.
so. What is the general age group, or is it anybody who can come to your groups?
Well, the certain classes, like for example, I teach that class for seniors on Wednesday. It's called Strength, Balance, and Flexibility for seniors, but there's a 30-year age range in that class. I mean,
Yeah.
I literally have people probably 60-ish to, I have a couple in their 90s.
Oh, yeah.
And they're amazing.
Yes,
they're truly
I
amazing.
check the obituaries every Sunday to see. To see if there's anybody I know, or like you can scroll down and find out. It's important to find what took them. What was it? What seems to be the most prevalent thing now? 100, 90s. My great grandmother was 96, and I'm thinking, this is a marvelous trend. I think this is awesome. I mean, that means a lot of us have 34 years to go. I think that's great.
Yeah,
Why
I think
not?
people are really into keeping, their health really strong through the years, and I love this trend that I'm finding. And at Steinberg Wellness Center at Emerson Hospital, there are a lot of couples that exercise together, which is very cool. But I also have younger students, like this morning's class from Dragonfly Wellness. That was a Zoom class, Pilates and yoga class. There are several women with young children, who are in that class. They're probably in their late 30s.
Yeah.
So and then I taught girl power girls who are 11 and 12
You're
and
still
9.
doing that, right?
I didn't do it this year because of COVID.
Yeah.
I did interview some mothers to see how they would feel about doing a wellness program for girls virtually. And they just felt there's too much virtually already for school.
Right
and
now.
they needed really to
Yeah.
not do that. And I said, I totally get it. So
Do you have kids now, Susanne? Are they grown?
I do, yeah. Well, they're not at home. I have a daughter who's 30 actually, and she lives in Somerville, and my son is 26, and he lives out in southern Washington. It's called
Yeah,
Underwood,
I got
Washington.
one of those millennials myself. That's an interesting
Yeah.
breed.
Oh yes, yes, they're very interesting.
Being a baby
Yeah.
boomer parent raising a millennial, they thought probably my parents got the biggest charge out of the baby boomers, hippies. My father would go around singing the songs. It was just so new to them. And I tell Paul, our videographer, he said the generation just before, the silent generation, and they have the doo-wop music. I can't stand it. I hate it. And I said, we open your world for you. We
I
open
love
your
it.
world. Did you go to school at any time thinking that you would, like to college, you would major in this type of thing?
I honestly, Jen, had no clue what I wanted to do when I
Neither
went to
did I.
college. I remember I loved to dance. I danced from the time I was 2 years old. I studied at the Boston Ballet as a student, and sort of like a pre-apprentice. And then I quit because I was just too big to be a ballerina. I really was. And a few years later, I went back into studying modern and jazz dance, and then got back into ballet eventually too, because you don't have to study ballet. You don't have to be skinny and tall, or skinny and small rather. You can be bigger person and taller, because ballet is a beautiful art, and I wanted to study it again. But back when I was 17, I went to college. I was 17 years old, and I didn't know. I mean, I was good at math, and I decided it was a decision. Do I want math, finance, or accounting kind of stuff, or science, or do I want dance? And I really did seriously think of going to a conservatory for dance. And back then, I just think I wanted to make money. I mean, I really wanted to get out in the world and get a job, and I wasn't aware of how I could do that in dance. I looked at dance as a sort of a short-term thing. But what I realize now is that's not true. Like, you can take movement and dance and the arts, anything like that, that many people think of as a young person's career.
Yeah.
And many of my friends are in their older, even older, and they're still doing things. My friend Tony Williams, he is my ballet teacher, and he created the Urban Nutcracker, and he's still creating art, and he's 75 years old.
There you go.
I have many friends who are, study dance and are still very active in creation and doing some amazing things in the arts.
So this was sort of, I hear a lot of evolving in this with you.
Lots
and
of
you love
evolving.
it. You can tell by watching her. I mean, she really loves this. Suzanne, again, how can they reach you?
You can reach me by sending me an email at Susanne with an S, SUSANNE, at dancingwellness.com. That's also, dancingwellness.com is also my website, so you can also find that, and there's a link to my email on that. Or you can look online at, you can go into Steinberg Wellness Center at Emerson Hospital and look for my classes there, or you can go into Dragonfly Wellness Center, which is dragonflywellnesscenter.net, and I teach a class through Dragonfly as well, public classes.
Great. How far will you go travel? If somebody gets in touch with you and they say, we'd like to have you come, how far will you go?
It depends on how frequent the program is and, sort of what the details of the program are. I have traveled quite a distance to do things. I mean, especially if it's like a one-time or a two-time program. If it's a weekly program, probably, I like to keep things within, say, 30 to 40 minutes. I have traveled that far before. But it depends. I think if I'm really passionate about something, I might. I used to go every single week to go to Shriners Hospital in Boston.
Oh, that must have been,
often took me. I haven't done that for a while, but a couple years. But I was doing it for about 7 years.
You were working with the children there, with your dance. What is this? What kind of dance is it? What is it? Or what is it?
So
like?
what I did there was they had a wellness program, and I was working with individual patients. Working with them, and it really evolved. Again, that evolved too, because I realized sometimes you go in and you have a program that you want to do with people, but that you really have to sort of deviate from it because it doesn't work for what you're trying to do with them. And many of the patients had some major burns. It was a burn hospital. It's also an orthopedic hospital now as well. But at the time, most of the time I was there, it was a burn hospital. And they had profound burns, these children. And many of them came, probably 60% of them came from Spanish-speaking countries. And they didn't speak English. So I've been learning Spanish. I have a few words that I was able to speak with them. And sometimes I've had a translator, sometimes not. Because the language of the body is universal. And so it really worked out that I just really tried to learn a little bit about the patient in advance. So I had what age they were, what country they were from, maybe tried to talk to the PT beforehand. Is there anything you want me to focus on that I might be able to integrate into my dance and movement? I'd sometimes bring props. But I had children there from 3 to, 18, 19 years old.
That is fantastic. I mean, I can see you working with the children as well as people of all the other ages, too. Of all the favorite dance types of things do you have one? Do you have any particular one you like?
I really don't have a favorite. I have to say I just really love every single thing that I do. I mean, I honestly, sometimes I wake up and I pinch myself, like I can't believe at this stage of my life I'm doing the kind of work that I always maybe dreamed about, but I didn't know existed. Back when I was 25 years old doing banking, because I was a banker for the first time.
I can relate to that corporate thing.
10 years of the corporate thing.
I went to business school after I got out of college, and so then I thought, okay, my father was, you're going to succeed, right? So I went to, I did the corporate thing as a secretary, seniors, all that stuff. And after a few years, I'm like, so I think I'll try being a nanny. I love kids, so I did that. And then I went into broadcasting, radio. I went, wait a minute. I mean, this is really cool. My father was in radio. My mother was on stage. It's in the blood. And I just fell in love with radio. And as I told you, years later, I went into television. I like them both. I like
Yeah.
it. Where have you been appearing? Do you give any presentations about what you do?
I've done a few presentations. I did one when the Wellness Center at Emerson Hospital opened 3 years ago, and I did a presentation there. I was working as the wellness liaison for the Steinberg Wellness Center at Emerson Hospital, so what that involved was more of an administrative job where I would go out and give presentations on occasion to like doctors groups or, different groups of people. I did other things as well, like working on their newsletter and promotional type activities. And I haven't been doing that since COVID. That's been on hold. But that was an opportunity for me to do more public speaking. But honestly, every class is like an opportunity for that.
Definitely.
And I've done things for the veterans. I did something for the Braintree Men's Club years ago. I've done presentations for the Lions. I did a presentation at Shriners to the doctors and nurses there. So oftentimes before I start a regular gig kind of, I will do a presentation like with Shriners. Actually, that was sort of after I'd been working there for a few years. They wanted to know, what do you do? And I was telling them all the different things that I did depending on who the patient was, and how I decided what kind of work I was going to do with the patient.
The Milford Hospital, right up the street, Milford Regional, they are known for having their, they have like a little magazine that comes out every 2 or 3 months. They have programs there. I'm thinking another place that you might want to get in touch with is probably HR or whatever over at Milford Hospital, because exactly what you do sounds like something that would be very much needed. The Dana-Farber branch is right opposite it, and you can work there too. There's two, and then UMass. You can't go wrong. If you get, especially Milford's right up the street. So I don't know if you probably don't have much room on your schedule. But.
Well, I'm always looking, for sort of things that align with what I do. And, I feel like the further I get into this process, and now I guess maybe 12, 13 years, I think, since I started in wellness with Girl Power, and then have just expanded from there. And I just feel like it's becoming, as I go on, it's more and more streamlining to what really it should be, and it's always been great. I love everything I've done, even if something went away for a while because maybe it didn't work anymore. I've learned something from everything that I've done. So.
What's the group in Worcester? Girls? The Girls Inc.? Or there is a girls group in Worcester.
Not sure.
Very popular. You'd be great there too. There's so many possibilities I can see with you helping other people. And of course, the senior centers.
I've worked a lot with girls and actually and Boy Scouts too, girls and boys.
Oh, the Girl
My
Scouts.
son was an Eagle Scout, so I was very involved with his, back in the day, teaching them and doing some things with them. But girls, Girl Scouts, I've done some things with them too.
We're talking with Susanne Liebich.
Got it.
Liebich.
Good job.
Therapeutic Movement instructor and a wellness practitioner. And this woman is a busy girl. I mean, right now you're doing it on Zoom, except for one in person, did you say?
Well, I'm doing, actually just started another private client that I used to work with pre-COVID and working with them again now in person, which is great.
Will you do that if somebody would like you to come to their home?
Well, this is when I say private client, what I meant to say is a private group. It's a group, It's a group of,
How many people can be in your group when it's in person?
In person, it really depends on how much space there is. Probably, I've taught very, very large groups, and I've taught smaller groups too, but probably somewhere around, it gets a little unwieldy if it's beyond 25 people. I think if you have a nice big space, I have a very loud voice, as you can tell. I can teach to a big group, but I think it would be, challenging to go above 25 just because, But it depends. I mean, I have done more than that before. It depends on the situation, who I'm teaching, what I'm doing. A lot of it just depends on what I'm doing, and how I would present it to them.
I bet you never thought you were going to get into this when you were starting out in your 20s, thinking, okay, what am I going to do? Well, I got to go to college and major in elementary ed. That was the big deal. Yeah, then I changed it to art because I was bored with the other, and then I still got bored. I said, I'm out of here, which my father didn't like. He says, you're going to business school or beauty school? Which is it? I could see where he was taking me. I went to business school. And I got that out in 6 months, but I know what it's like not to know starting out. Some of us are late bloomers. And
I
some
was
people
definitely a
just
late
keep
bloomer,
blooming.
Yeah, and I think I actually did like what I did before. I mean, it wasn't a passion for me,
Yeah.
but I was a cash management sales rep for banking, so I used to call on companies. That was fun.
Yeah.
And then I worked for my father's business for about 24 years.
What did he do?
He has an industrial products business, and I did inside sales and marketing. I did a few outside sales things, but it was definitely business oriented. And then but it was part time, and so I was able to at the same time start to develop my therapeutic movement skills.
Yeah.
And one of the things I really like about this is I have to keep learning. Like even the whole thing about learning Parkinson's. When I got certified, I got my certification about 2 years ago, and there are just a few people. It's growing now, but at the time there were only 9 of us in the world, 9 or 10, and now there are more. But it's a very long process to get certified, and we had to read a lot of articles that were presented by universities and doctoral students, and take tests and evaluate music and come up with playlists, and then also we had to read books and then decipher them, and I mean there was a huge process of learning in that certification, and it was such a.
Suzanne, do you deal with dystonia patients? I've seen 1 or 2 friends of dystonia. They can't really control it's not the shaking, it's the sudden movements.
Every patient, or I don't call them patients, not when I'm working with them in a Parkinson's class, they're students. Everybody's different, and I do have some people who have immense difficulty moving, but what I say is one of the things that working with people with Parkinson's has taught me, and this goes for people with Parkinson's or any other debilitating condition they may have, is that it's all about the possibilities of movement. If you focus on what is possible versus what we can't do, focus on what we can do.
Yeah.
And there's it's almost like if you're an artist and you're doing a drawing, and the black lines, instead of looking at those lines, look at what's in between or outside the lines. And that is what we do in dance. We're looking at what they're not imagining they could do, and all of a sudden they realize they can do something else. And what I notice is people who have Parkinson's, whether they have difficulty moving like what you're talking about, or they have dyskinesia, or resting tremor, or bradykinesia, they actually, by focusing on the integration of the mind and the body in dance, like thinking about the sequencing of what they're going to do, they actually do. Oftentimes, the tremor will go away for a while while they're doing it, while they're focusing on something, whether it be mirroring or following what I'm doing, or even creating their own thing. Because we do our improvisation in the class too, which is very good for neuroplasticity of the brain.
This is fantastic. I wish we had 2 hours. Before we leave, tell them again how they can reach you.
So you could email me at Susanne@dancingwellness.com, and it's Susanne with an S. I also have a website, dancingwellness.com. You can email me through there, or you can reach me through Steinberg Wellness Center at Emerson Hospital or Dragonfly Wellness.
Now, they don't have to have Parkinson's, do they? Or
No.
You could be anybody.
No.
Could go.
Anybody.
Because what you're saying sounds to me almost as wonderful as meditation. Because you say that they focus on a certain movement. I like that.
Well, there's a lot of even though the classes I teach, I mentioned a few different classes, and some of them were more of like what I would call standard fitness classes, like Pilates or Pilates for strong bones. There's a common thread amongst all my classes, and that thread is that I really want to educate people to learn about their own bodies. Like the most important thing that I can teach you is not to do something a certain way, but to teach you how to move in your body so that it's right for you. No matter what the movement is, so that you can feel the sense of like self-awareness or body awareness, and then you can take it wherever you want. If you want to get more exercise, you make bigger range of motion. If you want to just move a little bit, listen to the music and breathe, you can do that too. So there's this huge range, and I'm a guide. I'm there to teach you how to do that, to learn how to do that, so you can do something in the way that's right for you.
Just hearing Suzanne talk, I can't explain it. I think the word is fascinating, because you come out, I can see where you work well with people, because you explain it, this is the way it is, let's try this. You're open-minded, Well, we're going to have to close. So, Suzanne, maybe we can get you back on. Maybe this summer.
Yeah,
I'd like to help you
love
get the
to.
word out more.
I would love to.
All
Thank
right.
you very much, Jan.
You're
I appreciate
welcome.
it.
See you next time.
Riding on a shooting star, heading out toward a dream. Tomorrow's even closer than it seems. Moving through the cloudless sky, heading out toward the moon. I am dancing to the lunar tune. Life goes by so quickly, time just slips away. But tomorrow brings a brighter day. Soaring out among the planets, in the vast array of space, I can feel the moon's embrace. Life goes by so quickly, time just slips away. But tomorrow brings a brighter day. Life goes by so quickly, time just slips away. But tomorrow brings a brighter day. Riding on a shooting star, heading out toward a dream. Tomorrow's even closer than it seems.